Solvent. I like how this started. The filmmakers made it easy to understand what was going on and why they were there in a really, really clever way. Nice cinematography throughout, but I especially liked the cutaways that they decided to do where they showed each person's website photo and the introduction of them, how they did that. I thought it was really cool. I liked how the filmmakers shot this whole thing. It had a documentary feel to it, which was really cool. Nice use of old photos, really smart. The voiceover in this was done brilliantly, really well. Some great moments of levity with the cast and stuff like that that were funny, that kind of broke up the tension. The filmmakers were smart how they told this story. It upped the creepy factor in this. And yeah, I thought that it was really well done.
Solvent has so many cool things going on with it because it has a bit of the found footage vibe, but then it also delves into more traditional supernatural horror. I really loved how the first act set up the lore of it all, which is so important in my opinion for any good horror story, to really have that expositional prologue not feel dragged and burdened, but immersed and naturally a part of the story. And we very much feel that as they're looking through, this abandoned, decrepit old home. And there's so much history in it. The set design is perfect. It really feels that this place has been lived in such a manner. And the other quality of the script and the overall film itself that I think lends itself well to is it's also not afraid to dive just a bit into the campiness, the moments where we're wondering if we should be laughing but laugh anyways, the discomfort in the discussion of, the Nazi propaganda of it all. And then, of course, leading to this really explosive, insane climax that leaves us on our feet and not entirely sure of, where these characters will go from here, which is, I think, the best way to conclude pretty much any horror story. It's really well done.
Solvent. I thought this was a really interesting. I liked the kind of like point of view aspect of it throughout the entire film, where you got very little that was if any actually, that was not a point of view shot, which I thought was really, really interesting. It definitely added to this kind of narrative of you really taking on, like, as the audience, experiencing as much as you could what he was experiencing. And that was also for sure how the story was told, that it was way more of kind of like it had more of a documentary feel, which I thought was really, really interesting. I know that it's kind of been done and played with as far as storytelling goes with movies on and off throughout, in history, but I thought this was a really, really fascinating way to kind of do it and to keep the point of view, except for the very, very end, I think, really focused on always just kind of seeing what he was seeing instead of seeing a kind of larger picture, which I think really added to feeling as the audience what he was feeling, because I feel like when you're watching a standard film and you get the larger picture where you're seeing who is talking, you're seeing kind of the point of view, even if it is that person's story, and you're, for the most part, you're experiencing it as they would. When you see a larger picture and really see them and how they interact with other people, I think it gives you, as an audience member, a different perspective. But with this, with like the very, very limited point of view where you really just stuck with him as him for the entire thing, gave you the kind of focused perspective of him and what he was experiencing. And there were times when we were confused because he was confused and he was trying to piece it together, and you never got that kind of wider picture, which I thought was I really enjoyed, actually. I thought it was great because it kept, like, for me, it kept me with him as he was experiencing it, as he was telling the story. It kept me really present with him. I thought the story was really, really interesting, and I think that they touched on it a lot, but just the bounds of what humanity will do to each other, and how that kind of is unfortunately boundless, and just how that comes back to haunt you in different ways. How you can never truly run free from your past, even if it is just, you know, in parts, like the legacy of your family, and how that still is with you. So I thought it was really, really fascinating. Really liked the story. I thought it was really, really interesting. I thought it was like pushing the boundaries, and like included some things that were like a little out there, like liquefaction, and, you know, the spirit, or, you know, essence living on through that. But for me personally, that kind of more theatrical elements, or like the ideas that kind of push the envelope a little bit more, helped in the fact that, like, you're talking about something that is very, very heavy, very, very intense, and comes with a lot of emotion and a lot of weight to it. So for me personally, having some of those things that were a little bit more out there, and were a little bit more on the, you know, kind of kookier side, as it were, I think helped bring a balance to the film, and I really enjoyed it.
Solvent is this abstract experimental horror film, and it has a hyper focus of what meets beyond the eye. This is a found footage type of horror. We're seeing this through the perspective of the filmmaker and the documentarian, who has uncovered this part of history that, you know, isn't so bright. It dives into Nazi Germany. It dives into definitely some representations of neo-Nazis and Nazis in the realm of that history of this part of this family's ancestry. And then we find our character being consumed by it. We have these moments and referrals to basically what, you know, is being dissolved from the human body, whether it be urine or these very vulnerable parts of us and our genitalia, and the mutilation of these experiences. It even touches note, and you even hear the character at one point yell out Hamas. So it makes it very relative to today's climate. And so it definitely makes you cringe. It definitely makes you uncomfortable. I feel like the parts of the gore, you know, the skinning of the tattoo, or pokings of the eye, or even the mutilation of the genitalia itself, it's very evasive, and definitely makes the viewer cringe. It definitely makes people question, you know, what have they just signed up for? What have they just committed to the experience? But the thing I think that makes this interesting to me is the metaphor and the allegory that of the eye itself. The eye is a very vulnerable part of our human body. It has such a representation in literature and filmmaking itself. They sometimes say when it comes to acting, all you need are your eyes to be able to get the emotion that you want to get across the screen. And I think they really take these vulnerability elements and really make you very aware of the different parts that go into a working body.